Stupid little liar. The words explode across the chamber, straight from the mouth of President Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States. But this isn't just another insult. It's a declaration of war. For decades, America has carried the weight of over 400 years of racial injustice, where truth was silenced and power always spoke louder. And tonight, inside the halls of Congress, one woman refuses to be silenced. Her name is Jasmine Crockett, a rising warrior of justice. Facing her is not just a man, but the most powerful office in the world. Trump believes intimidation is stronger than truth. He's relied on it his entire career. Yet studies show more than 60% of Americans over 50 believe their country is slipping into corruption and moral collapse. And in this very room, millions watching live, the battle lines are drawn. Will one fearless voice tear through decades of lies? Or will the president crush her like every challenger before? This is where the clash begins. The cameras flicker to life, broadcasting to every living room across America. Every lens is locked. Every microphone is live. Every heartbeat in the chamber pounds against the silence. Then it happens, an eruption. President Donald J. Trump slams his fist onto the mahogany desk with a thunderous crack that echoes through the chamber. "You have no right to challenge a sitting president," he roars, his voice rattling through the air like a storm breaking over Washington. The chamber gasps. Reporters clutch their pens tighter. Lawmakers stiffen in their seats. Millions of viewers lean closer to their screens, drawn in by the raw violence of his words. For a moment, the world seems to tilt in his favor. He is the president. He is the man who has bulldozed opponents, silenced critics, and thrived on fear. But across the table, unmoved, sits Jasmine Crockett. Her posture is straight, her shoulders squared, her hands steady. She doesn't blink. Her gaze is sharp enough to cut steel, aimed directly at the man who embodies unchecked power. When she speaks, her voice is not loud, but it pierces the chamber like a blade. "I don't challenge power, I challenge lies." The room freezes. The insult in Trump's voice still hangs in the air, but it's her words that settle into the bones of every witness. A truth so sharp it makes the mighty tremble. The camera swings toward her face, fierce, unyielding, lit by the fire of conviction. For decades, power has spoken with clenched fists and silenced dissent with iron hands. But here she stands, daring to strip the mask from the most powerful man in the nation. Trump leans back in his chair, smirking. He thinks he's seen this play before. He's faced opponents who trembled, who cracked under the weight of his fury. But this is different. This is not a courtroom he controls, not a rally where he dictates the crowd. This is Congress, live, unedited, streaming into every home from Florida to Alaska, and every second is a battlefield. The sound of pens scratching resumes. The hum of cameras grows louder. Jasmine holds her ground, eyes steady. Her words ripple outward, carried through satellites, across networks, into millions of living rooms where viewers whisper to themselves, "She said what no one else dared." The weight of history presses down on this moment. America has lived through more than 400 years of racial injustice, through centuries where voices like hers were silenced, mocked, erased. Now, in this chamber, history feels like it's leaning forward, watching, waiting. Trump tightens his grip on the desk. His knuckles whiten. The arrogance in his smirk hardens into something darker, something primal. He cannot allow her words to pierce the armor he's built. Not here, not live, not in front of millions. His voice drops low, guttural, almost a growl. "You think you can take me down? You think one little congresswoman can topple the president of the United States?" His supporters in the chamber nod, their eyes flashing with the zeal of loyalty. But Jasmine doesn't move. Her silence is louder than his threat. Then she leans forward, her eyes unblinking, her voice steady and clear. "I don't need to topple a president. I need to expose the truth." The sentence slices through the air like lightning splitting the sky. The chamber erupts, not with cheers, not with applause, but with a stunned, electric silence that speaks louder than any sound. Some lawmakers shift uncomfortably. Others glance at Trump, then back at her, as if unsure where the ground beneath their feet lies. Reporters scribble furiously, knowing they are capturing words that will echo in tomorrow's headlines. On television screens across the nation, elderly couples in small towns lean forward. Veterans in faded caps whisper under their breath. Grandmothers with weary eyes nod slowly. They've seen men like Trump before. They've seen power twist truth into weapons. But they've rarely seen anyone so unafraid to call it out. Trump shifts again, searching for control. He leans closer, his voice dripping with venom. You're nothing but a stupid little liar. The words burn, designed to wound, to diminish, to crush her into silence. But Jasmine does not flinch. She lets the insult hang in the air, lets it rot in the chamber like a foul odor, then responds with the calm fury of someone who knows history is watching. A liar fears the truth. A coward fears justice. And today, Mr. President, America will see which one you are. The crowd stirs. Gasps escape lips. Cameras zoom in. Trump's jaw tightens. His eyes narrow. For the first time, it is not clear who owns the stage. The power of the presidency looms on one side. The raw, unshakable force of truth stands on the other. The air vibrates with anticipation. Every viewer at home feels it. This isn't just another political spat. This is a duel written into the bloodstream of America. The oppressed and the oppressor. The silenced and the silencer. Justice and the throne of power. Trump slams his hand on the table again, but the sound no longer dominates the room. Because something has shifted. His fury feels desperate. Her calm feels eternal. In living rooms across the country, hearts pound, some in rage, some in hope. And in the chamber, the stage is set. The battle has only just begun. Trump leans forward, his eyes glinting with the fire of a predator about to strike. He clears his throat, theatrically slow, savoring the silence as though the nation itself is holding its breath. Then with a sudden crack of sound, he slams a thick folder onto the desk. The echo bounces off the marble walls, rattling the chandeliers, sending ripples of shock across the chamber. This, Trump bellows, his voice carrying the weight of authority, is proof that Jasmine Crockett is exploiting Congress to bring down your president. Gasps burst from the gallery. Some lawmakers lean forward, their eyes wide. Others exchange nervous glances, unsure whether to believe or recoil. The folder sits on the desk like a weapon, heavy, menacing, oozing with the promise of scandal. Trump doesn't stop there. He yanks the folder open and waves its contents in the air. Pages stamped confidential, red ink scrawled across their headers, government seals flashing under the lights. Cameras zoom in, hungry. The nation watches as he brandishes the documents like a warrior unsheathing a blade. She has manipulated her office, twisted the trust of the people, and weaponized this institution against me, he declares, his finger stabbing the air toward Jasmine. The chamber trembles with his fury. For a moment, it feels like he owns the room again. The camera cuts to his face, confident, smug, burning with the satisfaction of a man convinced he has checkmated his opponent. But behind the smirk lies something else. Desperation. Because Trump knows that in this battle, perception is everything. History tells us that over 70% of so-called classified leaks in Washington have later proven manipulated or misleading. Yet he also knows that numbers don't matter here. Not in this chamber, not in this moment. What matters is the image, those stamped words, those red headers, the illusion of damning evidence flashing across millions of screens. Power doesn't need truth, it needs theater. And Trump has always been the master of theater. Reporters scramble, their pens scratching feverishly, their minds already framing tomorrow's headlines. President unveils evidence against Crockett. Viewers at home shift uncomfortably in their chairs. Some mutter, maybe she really did, while others shake their heads, knowing too well the game of smoke and mirrors. But in the chamber, the silence is deafening. Every eye turns to Jasmine Crockett. Will she buckle under the weight of those waving papers? Will she crumble before the accusation hurled not just by a man, but by the President of the United States? Trump leans in, his grin spreading. I've crushed bigger names than her, he sneers, and I'll do it again. The words drip with arrogance, designed to humiliate, to reduce her to nothing more than a stepping stone in his legacy of dominance. The chamber is his stage, and the nation is his audience. But across from him, Jasmine sits perfectly still. No twitch, no tremor, only the slow rise and fall of her breath, steady as a drumbeat of defiance. Her silence unsettles him, because silence in the face of power can be louder than any shout. Trump senses it. His voice grows harsher, louder, almost frantic. "Look at these pages," he cries. "They are signed, sealed, and undeniable. This congresswoman is nothing but a fraud." He slams the papers against the desk again, scattering them like shards of glass across the polished surface. The camera catches the sweat beginning to form on his brow. Confidence can be performed, but fear cannot be hidden. And Jasmine sees it. She leans back in her chair, her eyes never leaving his. The chamber waits. Seconds stretch like hours. Trump's breathing grows heavier, his chest rising and falling as if every word costs him more than the last. Finally, Jasmine lifts her chin ever so slightly. The movement is small, but it shifts the entire balance of the room. Because suddenly, it is no longer Trump's stage, it is hers. She doesn't speak yet, not now. She lets the silence expand, lets the weight of his accusations hang heavy in the air until even his supporters fidget in their seats. The camera lingers on her face, calm, composed, unyielding. And in that calmness, a truth begins to take shape. These documents may be stamped confidential. They may look official, heavy with ink and seals. But America has seen this before. Fabricated evidence, manufactured lies. Paper shields protecting men too afraid of the truth. Trump mistakes the silence for defeat. He smirks again, flashing that familiar grin of conquest, certain that he's regained control. But in living rooms across the nation, millions of viewers know better. They lean forward, whispering under their breath, "Wait, just wait," because they have seen her eyes. And those eyes are not the eyes of a woman broken. They are the eyes of a warrior sharpening her blade. Trump doesn't realize it yet, but by raising those papers high, he may have just armed her with the very weapon that will pierce his armor. The chamber hums with anticipation. Every second drips with tension, every heartbeat echoing the same question: is this the beginning of her end? Or his? The chamber holds its breath. Every eye is locked on Jasmine Crockett, waiting to see if the weight of accusation will crush her. She moves slowly, deliberately. With steady hands, she reaches across the table and slides the folder toward herself. The papers flutter beneath her touch, trembling only from the force of the air conditioning, not from her resolve. For a heartbeat, she doesn't look at them. She looks at him, straight into the eyes of Donald J. Trump. And then, calmly, surgically, she begins to read. The first page lifts under her fingers. Her eyes dart across the text, her lips tightening. She turns it toward the cameras. "Mr. President," she says, her voice sharp but steady, "you might want to check your own paperwork before you wave it in front of the nation." The chamber stiffens. Reporters lean forward, pens frozen above their notebooks. Viewers at home inch closer to their screens. Jasmine raises the page higher, the black letters glaring under the fluorescent lights. She taps a line of text with her finger. "This signature right here belongs to a man who died 3 years before this document was allegedly signed." Gasps ripple through the chamber like a tidal wave. Trump's smirk falters. It's a flicker, just a second, but the cameras catch it. A nation catches it. Jasmine doesn't let the moment slip. She flips to the second page. "And here," she continues, her tone cool, almost surgical, "you cite an agency report dated March 18th of this year. But according to the agency itself, that report was never filed. In fact, they confirmed, under oath, that no such investigation exists." The chamber explodes with murmurs, voices rising in disbelief. Trump shifts in his chair, the veneer of confidence cracking. But he forces a grin, shaking his head as if amused. "Fake news," he mutters under his breath. But the microphone catches it. The words echo, hollow, powerless. Jasmine turns another page, then another. Each sheet is another nail in the coffin of his illusion. Forged signatures, non-existent reports, dates that contradict official records. Her voice rises now, no longer calm, but fueled by righteous fire. This isn't evidence. This is theater. And the only fraud in this chamber is the man holding this folder. The room erupts, gasps, shouts, even applause from corners that dare to defy the president. Trump slams his palm against the desk, trying to drown her words. Lies. She's twisting it, twisting everything. But his voice no longer commands the room, not the way hers does. Because Jasmine is no longer just speaking to him, she's speaking to America. She holds up the final page, her hand unwavering. You wanted to accuse me of exploiting Congress? She says, her tone sharpened into steel. No, Mr. President. What you've shown America tonight is how you exploit the truth. The chamber is stunned into silence. It's not the silence of fear. It's the silence of realization. The cameras close in on Trump's face, sweat glistening on his temples, the mask of arrogance slipping inch by inch. For years, he has controlled the narrative, bending truth with spectacle, wielding lies like weapons. But in this moment, the weapon has been turned against him. Jasmine lowers the folder, her eyes never leaving his. The truth doesn't flinch. The truth doesn't sweat. The truth doesn't hide behind fake seals and dead men's signatures. Her words land like hammer blows. Each one cracks the foundation beneath his feet. Trump shifts again, his grin fading entirely. His fingers drum against the desk, frantic, searching for control. But there is none to be found, because control belongs to her now. The crowd feels it. The nation feels it. What was supposed to be his grand display of dominance has become his unraveling. And Jasmine Crockett, calm, fierce, unshaken, has made it so. The murmurs rise again, louder this time. Reporters scribble furiously, knowing they're witnessing history. Some lawmakers nod subtly in her direction, emboldened by her defiance. And outside the chamber, in cities and small towns across America, viewers whisper to one another, "She caught him. She actually caught him." Trump slams the desk once more, but it sounds weak, hollow, a desperate echo of the power he thought he still held. "You're finished," he growls, though the words ring false, empty, because the truth is clear. The documents he held so high, the accusations he hurled so proudly, have crumbled in his hands. Jasmine leans forward, her voice cutting through the chamber one last time. "I'm not finished, Mr. President. I've only just begun." The crowd roars, not with noise, but with energy, a current of belief that surges through the chamber and into the living rooms of millions. Trump sits frozen, his empire of lies flickering like a candle in the storm. And Jasmine, her eyes blazing, her voice unshaken, emerges not just as a challenger, but as the embodiment of truth itself. The clash is no longer a question of survival. It is a question of legacy. And tonight, the first cracks in his have begun to show. But Donald Trump is not a man who concedes ground. Not now. Not ever. He leans forward, his face hardening, the smirk replaced by a scowl carved deep into his jaw. The folder lies exposed, its falsehoods unveiled. But he seizes the only weapon left to him, his voice. And when he unleashes it, the chamber quivers. "You're nothing, Jasmine Crockett," he spits, his tone venomous, each word like a lash. "Nothing but a tiny pawn in the enemy's game." The insult slashes through the air, dripping with contempt. The word pawn hangs above the chamber like a dark cloud, reducing her not to a rival, not even an opponent, but to something disposable. Gasps erupt from the gallery. Some lawmakers shake their heads, others smirk in approval. For Trump's loyalists, it is the line they crave. The president once again putting an adversary in her place. But he is not finished. He leans closer to the microphone, his voice dropping into a low, sinister growl. "If you dare to continue," he warns, his finger jabbing the air, "you will be buried along with your career. I will make sure of it." The chamber tightens. The silence is suffocating, thick with fear and tension. It is not just a threat. It is a promise. The cameras swing in on his face, red with rage, twisted with the hunger of a man who has built his empire on intimidation. For decades, Trump has weaponized fear like no other. Contractors silenced, employees gagged, political opponents crushed. And now, in front of millions, he wields the same weapon against Jasmine. Buried. The word echoes like a death sentence. Reporters hesitate, their pens frozen midair, unsure whether to write it down or to breathe first. Lawmakers exchange nervous glances, their eyes flickering between the president's glare and Jasmine's stillness. The atmosphere is so dense it feels combustible, as though one spark could set the entire chamber ablaze. Viewers at home grip their armrests tighter. Some shake their heads in disgust. Others whisper, "He can't say that." Not to her. But Trump does not retreat. He doubles down. "You think the people are with you?" He snarls, his voice booming now, rattling the chamber walls. "They've abandoned you already. I hold the power, I hold the truth, and I hold the office that will crush you under its weight." Each sentence is a hammer, pounding into the chamber, pounding into the airwaves, designed to shatter her resolve. But Jasmine does not break. Her stillness is infuriating to him, like fire that refuses to be stamped out. And in his rage, Trump grows reckless. He pounds his fist against the table once more, the sound reverberating through the microphones like thunder. "Do you know what happens to pawns, Jasmine?" he bellows. "They get sacrificed every single time." The words hang like a guillotine blade. The chamber is suffocating now, thick with smoke, though no fire burns. Every inhale feels heavy. Every exhale feels dangerous. The nation is frozen, locked in the spectacle. For Trump's followers, it is a thrill. Power reasserting itself. The president crushing dissent. For his critics, it is a chilling reminder of the man they've long feared. But for Jasmine, it is something else entirely. It is fuel. Because in his fury, in his arrogance, Trump has revealed himself. He has stripped away the presidential polish, exposing the raw, unfiltered core of a man who rules not by justice, not by law, but by fear. And America is watching. The camera pans across the chamber, capturing lawmakers whispering, reporters scribbling, aides shifting uneasily in their seats. Outside, on streets across the nation, protests flare louder. On screens in nursing homes, in diners, in living rooms, the words, "You will be buried," replay like a drumbeat. It is a threat not just to Jasmine Crockett. It is a threat to every voice that dares speak against him, and millions of viewers know it. Still, Trump sits back, chest heaving, lips curled into a grin that masks his desperation. He believes he has regained control, that the weight of his words, the shadow of his threats, has smothered her flame. But the flame is not gone. It is only burning brighter. The silence stretches, longer, heavier, until the chamber feels like the eye of a storm, still but trembling with the power about to be unleashed. Jasmine Crockett lifts her head slowly. Her eyes, sharp as daggers, lock on his. And in that gaze, the threat of being buried collapses into something far smaller, an empty echo of a man terrified of losing his grip. Because while Trump speaks the language of fear, Jasmine speaks the language of truth. And truth is not so easily buried. The chamber waits. The cameras roll. The nation holds its breath. Something is about to break. And this time, it won't be her. The silence shatters. Jasmine Crockett explodes to her feet, the legs of her chair screeching against the marble floor like a war cry. Her voice booms through the chamber, deep and thunderous, rolling over every lawmaker, every reporter, every camera. "You can threaten me, Mr. President." She leans forward, her hand slicing the air like a blade, eyes blazing. "But you will never threaten the truth." The chamber quakes. For a heartbeat, there is silence. Then the walls erupt in sound, applause slamming against the marble, gasps mixing with shouts, a roar that shakes the rafters. Lawmakers pound their desks. Reporters glance at one another, wide-eyed. And outside, where thousands have gathered, the crowd explodes into chants. "Jasmine! Jasmine! Jasmine!" Her name ricochets through the streets like a battle drum, a cry not just of support but of defiance. Cameras swing wildly, catching faces in the crowd. Elderly veterans in wheelchairs, mothers holding children on their shoulders, young activists raising fists high. Each of them screams her name as though it were more than a name, as though it were a shield. Back inside, Jasmine's chest heaves, her voice still echoing against the walls. Trump sits frozen, caught in the shockwave of her eruption. For years, he has thrived on intimidation. He has silenced challengers with threats, buried rivals under the weight of his office. But this is different. This is the moment when the weapon of fear shatters against the armor of truth. Jasmine points directly at him, her voice cutting through the chamber again. You sit in that chair because of power, but power without justice is nothing more than tyranny. The applause swells louder now, almost drowning her out. But she raises her voice, fueled by the surge of energy, riding the wave rather than fighting it. For every voice you've tried to silence, for every truth you've tried to bury, I stand here. I stand because justice cannot be buried. The words ripple outward like lightning, electrifying the air, filling lungs with fire. Reporters' hands blur across their notepads, desperate to capture every syllable. Camera lights blaze brighter, catching the glisten of sweat on Trump's brow, the tremor in his jaw. He tries to smirk, tries to sneer, but his mask is cracking. Because this is not just a congresswoman speaking, this is a reckoning, and the people can feel it. Outside, the chants grow louder, swelling into a roar that shakes the asphalt. Truth, truth, truth. Signs rise above the crowd, painted words demanding justice, demanding courage, demanding an end to lies. And the sound spills into the chamber, crashing against the walls, seeping into the ears of every lawmaker. They cannot block it out. They cannot deny it. Jasmine lifts her hand, calling the room back to silence. Her eyes never leave Trump's. You call me a pawn, she says, her voice calm now but no less powerful. Yet pawns are what topple kings. The line lands like a thunderclap, gasps, shouts, applause that refuses to die. Trump's jaw tightens, his fist clenches, but for the first time he looks cornered. Because this is not the script he wrote. He expected fear. He expected retreat. Instead, he faces fire. Jasmine turns to the cameras, her gaze piercing through the lens and into the living rooms of millions. If truth is treason, then write my name in every history book as a traitor. The chamber erupts again, waves of applause crashing in, rising higher, louder, unstoppable. Because the people know this is not just about her. This is about them, about every voice silenced by lies, about every truth buried under power. And tonight, one voice dares to roar back. Trump leans back, red-faced, fists trembling on the desk. His words have lost their weight. His threats have lost their sting. Because Jasmine Crockett has done what so few ever dared. She has stood unflinching against the man who claimed to be untouchable. And she has ignited a fire that cannot be contained. The chants outside shake the earth. The applause inside shakes the chamber. And Donald Trump, once the master of spectacle, is now trapped in a spectacle he cannot control. Jasmine lowers her hand slowly, her voice steady, final, unbreakable. You can threaten me, you can mock me, you can even try to bury me, but you will never bury the truth. The room erupts once more, drowning in thunderous applause, and somewhere deep inside, Trump knows. The ground beneath him has begun to crumble, but Donald Trump is a man who never admits defeat. His lips curl into a cold, deliberate smile. He leans back slowly, savoring the pause, stretching the silence until it presses on every chest in the chamber like a weight. Then, with theatrical precision, he reaches beneath the desk. When his hand emerges, it holds a red envelope, sealed, thick, heavy with menace. The chamber freezes. The cameras zoom in, catching the glint of the seal beneath the lights. He lifts it slowly, deliberately, like a magician revealing his final trick. And when he speaks, his voice is low, cutting, cruel. This, Trump says, shaking the envelope slightly for effect, is the end of you. The words slither into every corner of the room. Gasps ripple through the lawmakers. Some clutch their papers tighter. Others shift uneasily, caught between disbelief and dread. The silence is suffocating now. Even the protesters outside seem to falter for a moment, their chants dimming as if the envelope itself has stolen the air from their lungs. For decades, Trump has thrived on spectacle, and this moment is the pinnacle of his theater. The red envelope sits in his hand like a bomb. No one knows what's inside, but the way he holds it, the way he smirks, makes it feel like the weight of destiny itself is sealed within. He slams it onto the desk with a sharp crack. The sound ricochets across the chamber like a gunshot. Lawmakers flinch. Reporters freeze. The nation holds its breath. Trump leans forward, his voice rising now, the smugness dripping from every syllable. Inside this envelope is everything I need to bury you, Jasmine Crockett. Every secret, every lie, every betrayal you've tried to hide. Once this is opened, your career, your name, your so-called truth, gone. He presses his palm against the envelope, as if to pin her future beneath his hand. The cameras catch every flicker of his expression: glee, cruelty, hunger. Trump has always known how to wield suspense. He is a man who builds empires not on fact, but on fear. And tonight, in front of millions, he is gambling everything on one final weapon: the red envelope. Jasmine's eyes narrow, her gaze locked on the folder like a warrior studying her enemy's blade. But she does not move. Not yet. The chamber is alive with whispers now, the air buzzing with speculation. What's inside? Is it real? Could this truly end her? Across America, viewers grip their screens tighter. Grandmothers whisper prayers. Fathers shake their heads. Children peek around doorframes, sensing the storm even if they don't understand its meaning. And still, Trump waits. He knows the power of suspense. He knows that sometimes the threat of the weapon is stronger than the weapon itself. His grin widens. His voice drops again to a chilling murmur. I told you, Jasmine. Pawns get sacrificed, and tonight, you're about to be removed from the board. He lifts the envelope once more, holding it high for the cameras, letting the seal catch the light. This is checkmate. The words fall heavy, final, like the clang of a prison door. The chamber is silent. Outside, the chants resume, but they are fainter, uncertain, the roar of the crowd muted by the dread pulsing from that envelope. Trump can feel it, the shift. For a brief moment, he believes he has seized back control. He believes that fear has returned to its rightful master. But what he does not see, what the cameras capture, what millions at home recognize, is Jasmine's expression. Calm, unbroken. Her lips press into the faintest hint of a smile, because she knows something he doesn't. The silence stretches again, unbearable, electric. Every viewer, every lawmaker, every protester outside waits for the next move. The red envelope burns in the spotlight, a symbol of menace, of power, of secrets that could shatter a career or a presidency. Trump's hand hovers over the seal. His grin deepens, and America leans closer, because everyone knows when the envelope opens, nothing will ever be the same. But before Trump can tear the seal, a voice cuts through the silence. Calm, unyielding. It belongs to Jasmine Crockett. Mr. President, she begins, her voice steady, almost quiet, yet it slices through the chamber, sharper than a blade. The cameras whip toward her. Trump freezes, the envelope still suspended in his hand. Her eyes narrow, her lips curve into the faintest, most deliberate of smiles. The only problem with your little trick, she says, leaning forward, is that you forgot I already know what's inside. The chamber gasps. A ripple of shock surges through the lawmakers. Reporters' pens clatter to the ground. Even the protesters outside seem to falter, their chants breaking into fragments as if the air itself has shifted. Trump blinks. Once. Twice. The smirk falters. He tries to recover, forcing out a laugh, mocking, dismissive. You know nothing, he spits. You're bluffing. But Jasmine doesn't blink. She doesn't flinch. She leans closer, her voice rising now, infused with the fire of certainty. No, Mr. President, I know exactly what you are holding. That envelope doesn't bury me. It buries you. The words crash through the chamber like thunder. Lawmakers shoot to their feet. Some cry out. Some clap hands to their mouths. The room is chaos, trembling with disbelief. Trump's face drains of color. The red of rage is gone, replaced by a pallor that betrays something far more dangerous than anger. Fear. He shakes his head violently, his voice breaking into a shout. Lies! All lies! She's making it up! Wondery, but the louder he shouts, the more desperate he sounds. Jasmine does not yield. She locks her gaze on him, never looking away, her words precise, unrelenting. Inside that envelope are the documents you fought to keep hidden, deals buried under shell companies, signatures tying you to money funneled through foreign hands, records you swore did not exist. The crowd erupts again, a tidal wave of gasps and cries. Reporters scramble, their fingers flying across keyboards, their voices hissing into phones, broadcasting the revelation before Trump can smother it. The cameras zoom in on his face, catching every twitch, every beat of sweat. The mighty smirk is gone. The mask is slipping. No! Trump bellows, his voice cracking under the weight of panic. This is false. It's fabricated. A witch hunt. But his words fall flat, swallowed by the roar of the chamber, by the pounding energy spilling into every corner of the nation. Because Jasmine has turned the weapon. The red envelope is no longer his sword. It is his coffin. She raises her voice again, carrying it not just to him, not just to the lawmakers, but to every screen across America. You thought you could scare me with secrets, Mr. President, but secrets have a way of clawing their way back to the surface. And now, it's your lies, not mine, that are about to be exposed. The chamber shakes with the thunder of her words. Outside, the protesters erupt once more, louder than before, their chants swelling into a storm. Truth! 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 The crowd is alive, vibrating with electricity, their voices pouring through the marble walls, rattling the very foundation of power. Trump staggers back in his chair. For the first time, the invincible man looks small. His fingers tighten around the envelope, but it no longer feels like a weapon. It feels like a ticking bomb. He slams it against the desk, shouting again, but the sound is drowned out by the tide rising against him. Because everyone has seen it. His panic, his fear, the way his face betrayed him before his words could recover. And Jasmine, she stands unbroken. Her voice steadies the chaos, a beacon cutting through the storm. You tried to make me the pawn, but tonight America sees the truth. You've been the pawn all along, trapped by your own lies, cornered by your own secrets. The chamber detonates in sound. Applause, shouts, gasps, the cacophony of history unfolding live. Trump's fists tremble on the desk, his knuckles white, his jaw clenched. He glares at her, but the glare no longer intimidates. It pleads, because deep down he knows. The red envelope has betrayed him, and Jasmine Crockett has turned the stage into his execution ground. The nation watches, breathless, stunned, unable to look away. Because history isn't waiting for tomorrow's headlines. History is happening here, in real time. And Donald Trump, the man who once controlled every narrative, is watching his unravel before the eyes of the world. Then the mask shatters. Trump's hand slams against the desk with a thunderous crack that rattles the microphones and echoes off the marble walls. He surges forward, his face flushed crimson, veins bulging at his temples. "This is treason," he bellows, his voice ripping through the chamber like a cannon blast. "You are destroying America." The words reverberate across the chamber, filling every corner with the raw fury of a man no longer playing politician, but bellowing like a cornered beast. Lawmakers flinch. Some recoil in fear, others in disgust. The sound is primal, a roar stripped of dignity, stripped of control. The President of the United States looks less like a leader and more like a tyrant unmasked before his people. The cameras zoom in mercilessly, capturing every beat of sweat, every twitch of rage. For years, Trump has mastered the art of spectacle, commanding the lens like a performer who knows the stage is his. But tonight, the lens does not obey. Tonight, it betrays him. The glare in his eyes is no longer strength, it is desperation. The volume of his voice is no longer commanding. It is shrill, unhinged. He points a trembling finger at Jasmine Crockett, his words tumbling out in a fury that barely disguises fear. "You are the enemy. You are the traitor. You will answer for this." The chamber quakes with his rage, but the lawmakers are no longer cowed, because fury without control is not power. It is weakness exposed. The camera pans to Jasmine. She does not rise, she does not flinch. She sits in calm defiance, her eyes locked on him, her expression carved from stone. And the contrast is devastating. On one side, a president unraveling before the world. On the other, a congresswoman whose stillness radiates strength. The room knows it. The nation knows it. Even his allies shift uncomfortably in their seats, their eyes darting to the cameras, knowing that this image, this furious, red-faced man, will be replayed again and again, burned into the memory of America. Trump slams the desk again, his palm echoing like a gunshot. "You think you can humiliate me?" he shouts, his voice cracking now under the strain. "You think you can defy the President of the United States?" He leans so close to the microphone that his words distort, a garbled mess of fury and static. The control is gone. He is no longer the showman orchestrating the crowd. He is the spectacle, unraveling before it. Outside, the chants grow louder, sharper. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" The people can hear it too. The desperation, the terror masked as rage. Inside, lawmakers whisper to one another, their voices carrying disbelief. Some are horrified, others emboldened, because they realize the truth. This is not the display of a president defending his country. This is the tantrum of a man defending himself, and the difference is seismic. Trump slams the desk once more, his fist pounding harder, his voice erupting louder, until the chamber itself vibrates with his fury. "You will not survive this, Jasmine. You will not." His words are spit, venomous, wild. But in his attempt to paint her as a traitor, he paints himself as a tyrant. The cameras drink it in. Every shout, every slam, every crack in his facade. Broadcast live, unfiltered, to millions of homes across the nation. And in living rooms from New York to Nevada, from Texas to Maine, viewers whisper the same thing. He's lost control. Because anger without reason is not leadership. It is collapse. Jasmine finally rises, her chair pushing back with quiet grace. She does not shout. She does not match his volume. Her voice is steady, clear, commanding in its simplicity. "This is not treason, Mr. President. This is accountability." The chamber stills. Her calmness cuts deeper than his fury ever could. Because calm is strength. Calm is control. And Trump, in his rage, has lost both. The silence stretches again, heavy with the weight of revelation. Trump glares at her, fists clenched, chest heaving, but the rage has burned itself into exhaustion. The spectacle has betrayed him. He wanted to look powerful. Instead, he looks dangerous, unstable, and America has seen it. Every lawmaker, every protester, every viewer at home. The curtain has been pulled back and the tyrant revealed. Jasmine's voice rises one last time, not loud, not harsh, but certain. "You cannot destroy America, Mr. President, because America is bigger than you." The chamber erupts in applause. Trump sinks back, his fury spent, his image shattered. And deep inside, even he knows, the man who once wielded rage as a weapon has now been undone by it. Then just as the chamber begins to settle, just as the echoes of applause fade into tense silence, the back doors swing open. The creak is soft at first, but in the stillness, it sounds like a cannon shot. Every head turns, every camera pivots. A figure steps into the chamber, slowly, deliberately. The footsteps echo against the marble floor, each one heavy, resounding, like the drumbeat of judgment. Whispers erupt through the lawmakers' rows. Reporters scramble, their cameras zooming, lenses tightening, and then the figure emerges into the full light. A man, worn yet resolute, someone the nation has seen before, at Trump's side in photographs, in boardrooms, in corridors of power. A former ally, a confidant, a witness to secrets no one else was meant to see. In his hands, clutched like a holy relic, is a small black hard drive. The room gasps as one, because that object is more dangerous than any red envelope, more damning than any shouted accusation. It holds memory. It holds proof. It holds the power to turn suspicion into truth. Trump's face drains of color, The smirk vanishes, the fury withers, and for the first time, pure shock grips him. His lips part, but no words come. The sweat beads on his brow, glistening beneath the relentless cameras. The chamber is alive now, buzzing with disbelief. Who is he? What does he hold? The man steps forward, his voice steady, unshaken. My name, he announces, is irrelevant. What matters is what I've seen and what I've saved. He holds the drive higher, letting the lights catch its polished edge. Years of records, conversations, deals, the evidence no one was ever meant to find. The chamber erupts in shouts, some calling for order, others crying out in shock. The speaker bangs the gavel, but the sound is drowned in the chaos. Trump lurches forward, his voice breaking through the din, shrill and panicked. Lies! He's a traitor! I don't even know him! But the words sound hollow, because everyone does know him. The cameras flash images across the chamber, photographs of Trump and this man together at rallies, at meetings, at fundraisers, images that cannot be denied. The witness steps closer, laying the drive onto the desk with a quiet finality that speaks louder than Trump's roar. This contains everything, he says, his voice calm, heavy with certainty. Every cover-up, every secret deal, every moment where the truth was strangled. The chamber freezes. Reporters' fingers blur across their keyboards, sending headlines flashing out into the world before the session has even ended. Breaking. Witness arrives with proof against president. Trump's hands shake as he slams them against the desk again, his voice a desperate scream now. This is illegal. This is treason. You can't bring that in here. But his words only expose his fear. The sweat rolls down his temple. His chest heaves with every breath. His eyes dart desperately for an escape. And the nation sees it. The invincible president, the untouchable man, reduced to panic before the truth. The witness looks toward Jasmine. Their eyes meet, and in that glance, an unspoken alliance is forged. She nods once, slowly, before turning her gaze back to Trump. Her voice rises, calm but devastating. You tried to bury the truth, Mr. President, but the truth has a way of digging itself free, even from the deepest graves. The chamber detonates with applause, louder than before. Lawmakers rising to their feet. The chants outside swell into a storm, shaking the walls themselves. Justice! 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 Trump collapses back into his chair, his face ashen, his hand trembling against the desk. Because he knows what is on that drive. He knows the secrets he thought were safe are now exposed, carried in by the man he once trusted. The mask is gone. The fury is gone. All that remains is fear. The cameras close in one last time, capturing his pale, sweating face, an image that will haunt the evening news, the history books, the memory of a nation. And in that moment, the balance shifts. The president no longer looks like a ruler. He looks like a man standing at the edge of his own downfall. And Jasmine Crockett, standing tall in the center of the storm, looks like the storm itself. Then the lights dim. A giant screen lowers behind the speaker's chair, its black surface looming like a judgment waiting to be written. The hard drive clicks into a laptop. Fingers race across the keyboard, and then, suddenly, the chamber is flooded with images, video, recordings, documents, the secrets of Donald J. Trump, no longer hidden in shadows but blazing across a screen larger than life. The first video rolls. Trump sits in a gilded office, laughing with associates, his voice dripping with arrogance. They'll never find out. I've got everyone where I want them. Congress? They'll believe whatever I tell them. The chamber gasps. Trump lunges forward, his hands gripping the edge of the desk, his voice cracking with fury. Turn it off. That's fake. Fake. But the video keeps playing. Another clip appears. Trump's voice again, this time darker. Money moves quiet if you move it offshore. Keep the receipts clean. Keep the names buried. That's how you protect power. The chamber is chaos. Lawmakers shouting, reporters clamoring, the gavel pounding futilely for order. And yet above the noise, the images burn. Documents fill the screen. Bank statements, contracts, shell companies linking back to his inner circle. Signatures, seals, paper trails he swore never existed. Each one a dagger, each one slicing through the illusion he built. Jasmine's eyes never leave the screen. She watches as every mask, every layer of deceit is peeled away for the world to see. Her chest rises with steady breaths, not of relief, not yet, but of vindication. Because this is what she fought for. This is why she refused to flinch. The next recording plays, an audio clip this time, Trump's unmistakable voice, low and snarling. If they talk, we destroy them. Simple. No one crosses me and survives. The words slam into the chamber like cannon fire. Gasps turn to cries. Some lawmakers cover their mouths in horror. Others stare, wide-eyed, as if the floor beneath them has opened into an abyss. Trump thrashes in his seat now, shouting over the noise. It's doctored! Lies! You're all complicit! But his shouts cannot drown out the voice on the recording. His own voice, repeating like a haunting refrain, played back for the nation to hear. And outside, the streets explode. Screens on storefronts, in restaurants, in bars beam the footage live. Crowds erupt in disbelief, in anger, in vindication. Phones light up, notifications flood timelines. Within minutes, hashtags surge into global trends. Trump exposed to justice for truth. Sarnar Crockett vs. Trump millions share the clips. Millions comment, argue, rage, rejoice. Social media is a wildfire, and the fuel is truth. Inside, the chamber shakes with the force of revelation. Another document flashes on screen, a signed directive buried in archives ordering actions he denied ever approving. The signature is clear, the date undeniable. Proof not whispered, not hidden. Proof displayed in 20-foot letters for the nation to read. Jasmine steps forward, her voice rising above the chaos. For years, this man has told America he alone could be trusted. That power was truth. That fear was strength. Tonight, America sees the reality. His empire was built not on greatness, but on lies. The chamber roars with applause, the sound rolling like thunder across marble floors. Trump slams the desk again, but the sound is weak, drowned beneath the storm he cannot stop. His face is pale, his hands trembling, his eyes darting wildly, as though searching for an escape that no longer exists. Because there is none. The evidence plays on. Clip after clip, page after page, layer after layer of deceit peeled away, until there is nothing left but the man himself, stripped bare, exposed. The mighty president who once claimed invincibility is revealed to be small, petty, corrupt, and America is watching. Jasmine turns once more to the cameras, her voice steady, unwavering. Truth is not a weapon to be feared. It is a light, and tonight, that light has burned through every shadow he tried to cast. The applause is deafening now. The chants outside swell louder, echoing through the chamber. Truth, truth, truth! And Trump, once the master of spectacle, sits slumped, sweating, humiliated. Because his own words, his own documents, his own past have betrayed him. And Jasmine Crockett, standing tall amid the storm, has become the vessel of truth itself. The chamber is vibrating with energy. Applause thunders through the marble walls. Chants from outside pour in like crashing waves. And every camera lens is locked on the woman at the center of it all. Jasmine takes one step forward, then another, until she stands directly beneath the Great Seal of the United States, the weight of history carved into stone above her head. She turns slowly, letting her eyes sweep across the chamber. Every lawmaker, every reporter, every camera. Her voice cuts through the storm, low at first, then rising with a force that cannot be denied. No president, she begins, each word deliberate, echoing. No president is allowed to stand above justice. The chamber explodes. Lawmakers leap to their feet, applause rattling desks, reverberating against the ceiling. The galleries erupt in cheers, the sound rolling outward through the heavy doors, spilling into the streets where thousands roar in unison. No president above justice! No president above justice! Trump sits slumped in his chair, the fire drained from his eyes. His hands clutch the edge of the desk, knuckles white, but his strength is gone. His lips move, fumbling for words, but nothing comes. Because what argument remains? What defense could survive when the truth itself has spoken? Jasmine raises her hand, calling the chamber back to silence. The applause ebbs, but the energy lingers, pulsing like the heartbeat of a nation. She continues, her tone clear, unshaken, almost solemn now. This seat of power belongs to the people, not to kings, not to tyrants, and not to men who believe lies can reign forever. Her gaze fixes on Trump, her words piercing like arrows. Mr. President, you were entrusted with this office to protect the Constitution, not to trample it, to uphold justice, not to place yourself above it. And tonight, America has seen the truth of what you've done. The silence is electric. Every ear strains to catch her words. Every pen scribbles furiously. Every camera captures the moment that will echo in history. Because this is not just politics. This is judgment. Jasmine steps closer to the desk, her presence towering over the man who once towered over everyone. You told this nation that fear was strength. You told them that silence was loyalty. But tonight, you've learned the truth. Fear is weakness, and silence is complicity. And America will be silent no longer. The chamber erupts again, but this time the applause is not chaotic. It is unified, a single, unstoppable force shaking the rafters. Trump lowers his head, his shoulders slump. For years, he has thrived on spectacle, on confrontation, on dominance. But there is no dominance left here, only defeat. His empire of intimidation lies shattered at the feet of a woman who refused to bow. Jasmine turns once more to the chamber, then directly into the cameras, her voice rising, soaring. Justice does not bow to power. Justice does not tremble before office. Justice does not serve men. It serves the people. And tonight, the people have spoken. The roar of applause crashes down again, a tidal wave of sound that rattles the floor. Outside, the crowd swells, their chants lifting into the night sky like thunder rolling across the nation. Justice! 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 In living rooms across America, viewers rise to their feet without realizing, clapping, shouting, some with tears streaming down their faces, because they know they are witnessing something rare, not just politics, not just theater, but history. Jasmine lowers her hand slowly, the chamber calming once more. Her final words are steady, etched in stone by the weight of truth. No president will ever be greater than justice. Not now, not ever. The applause is deafening, unending, a storm that cannot be silenced. And Donald Trump, the man who once believed himself untouchable, sits crumpled in his chair, unable to summon even a whisper in his defense. The image is indelible. One leader rising as a symbol of truth, another collapsing under the weight of his lies. The moment is destiny itself, etched forever into the soul of a nation. The chamber is still shaking with applause, the thunder of voices refusing to fade. And at the center stands Jasmine Crockett, tall, unbroken, radiant with the fire of justice. The cameras drink her in, framing every angle, every expression. Within minutes, her face floods television screens across America. News anchors speak her name with urgency. Headlines flash in bold. Crockett stands against Trump. Truth strikes back. The night Congress shook. On social media, her image goes viral. Raised fists, unyielding eyes, the defiance that refused to bow even when the president roared in fury. Clips of her words, "No president is above justice," circulate by the millions. It becomes more than a line. It becomes a rallying cry. Outside, the protesters chant her name, their voices echoing through the streets like a hymn of resistance. Jasmine! 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 Children hoist homemade signs. Elders clasp their hands together in prayer. Strangers embrace as though they've shared the same victory. She is no longer just a congresswoman. She has become a vessel for every silenced voice, every buried truth, every American who once believed justice was out of reach. And across the nation, people feel it. deep in their bones, that something irreversible has shifted, but not everyone is standing. At the front of the chamber, Donald J. Trump sinks lower into his chair. The fire is gone from his eyes. The fury that once electrified rallies, once silenced critics, has burned itself to ash. His chest heaves with heavy breaths. His shoulders slump. He looks smaller now, diminished, like a king stripped of his crown in the middle of his own throne room. The cameras swing to him. It is a cruel symmetry. The rise of one, the fall of another. For years he has commanded the lens, thrived under its gaze. But tonight, the lens is merciless. It captures every tremor in his hands, every bead of sweat sliding down his temple, every shadow of defeat carved into his face. He rises slowly, reluctantly, his movements stiff, brittle. And as he pushes himself away from the desk, the chamber watches in silence. There are no chants for him, no applause, no allies daring to rise in solidarity. Only the echo of his footsteps as he turns toward the door. The President of the United States walks out of the chamber like a man fleeing his own ruin, his shoulders hunched, his jaw clenched, his eyes fixed downward, refusing to meet the gaze of the cameras that once adored him. The great hall that once amplified his dominance now feels like a prison he cannot escape fast enough. And in that slow, humiliating march, he is no longer the figure of untouchable power. He is the image of defeat. Jasmine watches him go, her face solemn, not triumphant, not gloating, because she understands. This was never about her versus him. This was about truth versus lies, justice versus corruption, a nation versus the shadow that threatened to consume it. The doors close behind him with a thud that echoes like the final note of a requiem. The chamber exhales. Reporters rush to their feeds. Lawmakers wipe their brows. The crowd outside erupts into a frenzy of cheers, and Jasmine steps back into the light, the seal of the United States shining above her. Her voice carries one last time, steady and unshaken. Tonight, one truth has toppled an empire of lies. The words ring out, sharp as a bell. The chamber answers with thunderous applause, and outside the nation answers too. Millions of voices joining the chorus, a tidal wave of sound shaking the foundations of power itself. Television anchors choke on their words, knowing they are describing not just a political clash, but a seismic shift in American history. Historians watching at home scribble frantically in their notebooks, already aware they are witnessing a moment that will define generations. And in the streets, people chant louder, their voices swelling into the night. Justice! 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 The cameras catch Jasmine one last time, her figure framed by the roaring chamber, the storm of applause, the chants of a nation rising. She is no longer just a congresswoman. She is an icon, a warrior, a symbol. And as Donald Trump disappears into the shadows of his own downfall, Jasmine Crockett steps forward into the light of history. The narration closes, calm yet resonant, carrying the weight of finality. Tonight, one truth has brought down an empire. Tonight, justice stood tall. Tonight, a nation saw that no president, no matter how powerful, can ever rise above it. The screen fades to black. The words linger like an oath. One truth, one storm, one legacy. And from that storm comes a lesson for every soul. Power can bend the truth for a season, but it can never bury it forever. Justice is not the loudest voice, nor the strongest fist. It is the steady flame that refuses to die, even in the darkest halls of power. May we remember that courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to stand for truth when silence feels safer. For when one voice rises, it can awaken a nation and remind us all to be guardians of justice in our own lives. If this story moved you, don't turn away. Pause, reflect. Let it sink in, share it, speak it, pass it to someone who still believes justice is worth fighting for. Subscribe to Harrison Stories, where truth is given a stage and lies are stripped bare. Hit the bell, because the next chapter won't comfort you. It will challenge you, and it may forever change how you see power. This story is a fictional dramatization, inspired by the weight of real corruption in the fire of real courage. Any resemblance to people or events is symbolic, crafted for reflection, awakening, and critique. Thank you for watching. Justice does not arrive by chance. It arrives because we demand it. This is Harrison Stories.